going to do is look at how to answer the long mark question. In the previous video, we looked at how the 5 global hazards can be linked by C, social, economic and environment. What we're going to do now is kind of link it together by using the acronym C your P. But before we get to that, let's just quickly recap the 5 global hazards and the C. So there are droughts, typhoons, hurricanes and cyclones, which are the same thing but called different things in different places. You have floodings, you have tornadoes, and you have tectonic hazards, your volcanoes, your earthquakes and your tsunamis. They all affect the social, the environment and the economy, or the environment, the social and the economy. You need to remember those 3. Social, economic, environment. So what we're going to now do is, to answer the long mark question, you need to see your P. By that, don't go to the bathroom. What I mean by see your P, C, social, economic and environment. Your. Understand the question, read the question. The number of students when doing an exam, they don't read the question and they make small mistakes. So understand the question, read the question. Take a few seconds to make sure in your mind you are happy with what you need to do. The next thing is P. No, don't go to the bathroom. Point, evidence, explain. And that's what we're going to look at now in a bit more detail. So point, make a clear point, make your statement. For example, people are evacuated from their homes affecting their social well-being. So I've linked that to a social impact. What you will notice is, I don't know which of the 5 global hazards it's referring to, but it can be applied to all 5. That's key. Then give some evidence. Well, if they've been evacuated, they're going to need food and shelter, because everyone needs food and shelter. They will become a burden, either to family members or to the government. They will be worried, they will be anxious. Where are they going to get food from? Where are they going to get money from? When can they go home? Use some case-specific facts with this to now strengthen your answer. Then give examples. So once they're put in temporary shelter, either with family and friends or with the government, then what? They might become sick, they might not have clean water, they might not have food, they might become more ill and therefore require more medical attention. So you can see how this overlaps the social and the economic. Again, what you will see with that is I haven't actually linked it to a specific global hazard. So to step it up a gear, refer to place-specific examples. You only need 3 or 4 facts to get really good marks. Also, to get the good marks, compare it to an Asian advanced country and an emerging developing country or a low-income developing country. To me, the best example is to use Japan, because Japan gets typhoons, they get volcanoes, they get earthquakes, they get quite a lot of global hazards. Another good one to use on the LIDC is the Philippines, because they pretty much get everything but tornadoes. So they would be a really good example to remember, because you can have some key specific facts. Another way you can do it is to create a multi-flow map. So here's an example of an exam question from a couple of years ago. Explain how modern technology is used to mitigate tectonic hazards. Okay, so what I want you to do, let's understand the question. Mitigate. Well, mitigate won't mean make it worse, it's got to be reduced. Tectonic hazards, okay, volcanoes, earthquakes, tsunamis. So choose one. I suggest either volcanoes or earthquakes because they're easier to write about. Well, talk about what is a tectonic hazard. We're going to talk about seismographs, the effects on satellites, mobile phones. Building regulations are good things to talk about. But we only need 3 points and see your P. So let's go with, from an economic and a social point of view, using satellites. Well, you can collect data, gives you real-time time-lapse. So you can see if a volcano is expanding. You could record the changes in the shape, you can collect data. Okay, explain that. Well, you can use the data to predict eruptions. However, using satellites is very expensive, so advanced countries will be able to use it, but not LIDCs. So you can expand on that, put a couple of case-specific facts, and you've got a really good chain of thought. Next one, look at mobile phones as an early warning system. In Japan, and you get some facts on that, they use text messages to warn you if there is a global hazard about to come. Okay, well, what's the benefit? It gives you time to move to a shelter. It gives you time to move out of your house, to protect yourself, to get away from the damage. LIDC, they have mobile phones, but they can't afford the apps because it costs money. So they tend to have a person going around with a microphone or a megaphone trying to tell people to move. Well, this is unproductive and quite dangerous. Another thing to take into account, you could talk about is building regulations. So in advanced countries, they are very strict. This means that they have to spend a lot of money making sure the buildings are right. in low-income developing countries, the houses are made of poor quality material, normally wood or pretty much whatever they can find. What this means is that an advanced country, if it has a typhoon for example, will have a very expensive economic bill because the cost of rebuilding things will be quite expensive, but the death toll will be very low. In a low-income developing country, the cost to rebuild things will be a lot less, but the death toll will be a lot higher because they don't get the same warnings in place or they can't get the same protection from their house. So that is 3 points that you can make to answer an 8-mark question, and just by simply C your P, you will be able to get really good marks. Have a go at answering these long mark questions.